Welcome to Animal Posse, the podcast dedicated to the people and rescues making a difference in the lives of animals. Today, I am sitting down with the ladies from SpayMart Kitten Foster. Can I get you each to introduce yourself?
This is Joan and I've been with them about 15 to 20 years. The last 5 years, pretty much full time.
And I'm Lauree Nunez. I've been with them with Joan for 17 years. Co-coordinators running the program.
Can you give me a brief overview of what the program does?
The program helps the public with stray kittens and cats to get them spayed, neutered, and ready for adoption. All the kittens and cats are fully vaccinated, tested for AIDS and leukemia, treated for worms, treated for fleas, and spayed or neutered, and then put up for adoption.
And microchipped.
And about how many do you adopt a year?
Last year it was a little over 700, I think. I don't have the exact number.
And for the cats that aren't adopted, what happens to those?
Some of them go back to the people who found them if they were not adoptable because they weren't friendly enough. Sometimes they tame up real well and are easily adopted. Sometimes they're not. But they often go back to the foster that had them, or sometimes we send them off to another state with a transport because up north they don't have as many stray animals and they welcome some kittens to be adopted up there.
Okay, now, is it true that in the South we have more than one kitten season?
Definitely. Yes. It pretty much doesn't stop.
Now, in the northern areas, that's different?
Yes, because up north it's colder and the cats do not go into heat. But here we're starting to see them already, and it's just the end. It's still February. So we have newborn kittens now, and they will continue until November or December. January is about the only month we don't have newborns.
And they can go into heat at 4 months.
As far as you taking in kittens, if somebody from the public finds a kitten, you'll take the kitten in. Do you ask that the mom be spayed?
We require that the mother be spayed if she can be found. There are times when kittens are left somewhere and people take them in boxes and leave them out in front of storefronts or in front of houses. They leave them in parks. They leave them in the swamp. So therefore, we cannot get the mothers. But if we have access to the mothers, we will trap her and we'll have her spayed and she goes back to where she came from. Unless she's highly adoptable, and then sometimes they could be adopted also.
And can you give me like a rundown too of what the adoption process is like?
We house the animals at the PetSmart in Elmwood, and they are fully vetted to be there. We have an application process. It's a front and back. It's very comprehensive. And we're there Wednesdays, 4 to 6, Fridays, 4 to 6, Saturdays and Sundays from noon to 4. And we can do adoptions during those times. If you like one, come meet it, hang out, and then fill out the application. And then we process the paperwork. And you leave with your kitty.
Now, what if somebody adopts a kitty and it doesn't seem like it's going to work out?
We always welcome them back. We would prefer to have them back and see what the issue is. Sometimes not every kitten is for every family in that situation. Some kittens do not adjust well to dogs at home. Some do. Some have been raised with dogs. It just depends on the individual cat and the individual family, but we always take them back.
And we don't finalize the paperwork for a couple of weeks until we speak with the family and make sure everything's working out well.
Since you do want to take the kittens back or the cats back, even if it's been a while after they've been adopted, what are some of the situations of why people will bring cats back?
Sometimes it's because, like I said, they don't get along with their family, or there's a change in the family. There have been times when the dynamics of the family changes, that someone comes in to live in the home that is allergic, and whereas the regular family is not allergic, but the new family member is. Sometimes there's a change in status of employment, and this person has to move someplace where they cannot take the cat. Most of the time, pets can go with you, but there are occasions when they cannot.
Now, with situations when people bring back adult cats after a couple of years, can that be problematic sometimes?
Very problematic. It's
Hard
they're
on the
u-
cat.
Yeah, it's very hard on the cat. They have to adjust all over again to get used to new people and new surroundings. It takes a while for them to adjust. They need patience and they need understanding.
And just so people who do adopt know, if they have a cat and they've got to return the cat, and it's an adult cat, say they've had for several years, and they go to return that cat, are there any issues that could come up as far as behavioral with the cat from being separated from the owner?
Yes. Yes, they can become depressed. They can be so depressed they don't do well to find another home. And they can,
Sometimes they pine.
yeah.
They just pine. They won't eat. They won't interact. They take a lot of patience and a lot of understanding.
Have you seen any grieve themselves to death?
Yes.
Yes.
In my, say, 10 to 15 years, I've had 3 of them that refuse to eat, period.
So in those kind of situations, is there anything that you could do to maybe assist the owners that are trying to get rid of them with taking them back?
We try. We offer, if it's monetary, we offer food. We offer financial help with maintaining the cats.
Or a vet visit.
hmm But if it's, I'm moving to an apartment and they won't take it, uh, you find another apartment is what I would do, but they don't always think that way.
They often
right.
sign leases that they
Right.
say they can't get out. We always advise them, if we notice they're living in an apartment, we tell them, if you change apartment and go to another one, please make sure that they will accept your animal as well as you.
Right. Because I do see that people definitely think that it's easy to just rehome an adult cat, and they
Mhm.
don't see the difficulties involved with rehoming an adult cat. So a lot of people, they think it's just easier. Oh, it'll find a new home right away. And it's not going to have any kind of issues, but they do grieve themselves to death.
And another issue we come by is they say, I work too much now. I don't have time for the cat. During COVID, I stayed home with the cat, but now I'm working and he's alone by himself all day. Believe me, that cat is happier alone in his own surroundings than going to some place new and strange. And then when you come home, you can say, welcome home. Glad you're home. Glad to see you. And that's the way the cat's going to react. But if you get rid of the cat, it's just not so easy on the poor animal to adjust to a new place.
Right. I definitely agree. Most cats, I don't think, need to have that much attention at home. They're happy with a few hours of attention a day. It's not like a demanding thing like a dog.
That's the advantage of owning a cat when you're in a smaller place, especially. They don't need to be taken for walks. They just need to know that you're going to speak to them and love them for at least a few minutes each day.
Yeah.
The other issue is we've had people say I'm pregnant and I must return this animal.
Okay. So is that a myth?
It's a partial myth. Yes, people can get a disease called toxoplasmosis, which can cause birth defects in the first few months. However, if the cat is indoors only and does not have access to a rat or a bird that might carry toxoplasmosis, the cat can't be exposed. So therefore, if the cat's not exposed, it's not going to get it.
And out of all the animals we've seen, it's not something we see. Like
No.
twice maybe in the 15,000 animals that have crossed our door.
Yeah, it's rare, but some of the doctors, the gynecologists, feel that they have to advise their patients that way. But even so, if you do not scoop the litter box, if you do not have touch of the feces or breathing into the feces and the dust of the litter box, you're not going to get it either. That's when the spouse gets to change the litter box. Or an automatic litter box. Takes
Yep.
very little contact.
The litter robots have saved my life. Okay. So another thing, too, is I see there's a lot of people that are fans of declawing. So what kind of issues do you see with cats that have been declawed? Because I do know that you do get declawed cats into your program quite frequently.
Yes, we've had about 5 or 6 this last year. And 3 of them had serious problems because the claws had grown back into their paws. And they couldn't walk. Their paws hurt or hurt to walk. So they didn't want to use a litter box or anything like that. And they were just miserable. They
And last
hurt,
one was-
they don't feel good. They are very miserable.
She was painful. She
Yeah.
was mean.
I say, so we just had another one today that I took in and they found remnants of the claws in her paws. And there were 2 of them that were returned. They weren't returned. We never had them to begin with.
The
But these
woman went in
were
a home.
a lady went to a
Mhm.
nursing home with dementia, and we were asked to take her 2 cats. One of them, he's fine. He's found a new home. The other one I could not touch, could not get near her. And so we took her in today and did x-rays of her feet, and sure enough, she's miserable.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize too that when they don't have those claws, which is going to be their first line of defense, that if they are kind of ornery, then they resort to biting,
Mhm.
which is actually worse than the claws to begin with.
And,
The
and
other
I don't think people realize that declawing is not a declaw. It's an amputation from the digit up.
Right.
And then when that happens, it causes them to walk differently, which often causes arthritis early. So the animals do not walk correctly. Imagine cutting off the tips of your toes where your toenails are. You're not going to walk properly. So you're going to develop arthritis because that's not what nature intended.
Right. Now, you are an entirely foster-based program, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, well, I guess first off, how would somebody become a foster?
Anybody who likes animals, likes to spend some time with them, and has the time. We do require that they have a car, because if you have a bunch of kittens in your home and somebody gets sick, you're going to need to be able to get them to a veterinarian. So these are one of the problems that we do encounter. So we try not to have that.
Okay, now another thing too, for people that are fostering kittens, kittens can be a little bit delicate. So what should they be on the lookout for as far as illness?
Kittens should normally want to eat almost any time you put food in front of them. However, 3 times a day for little kittens is usually enough. Babies are a different story. They depends on their age, but some bottle babies need to eat every 2 to 3 hours. But as they get older, you want to watch them, make sure they do want to eat. They make sure they have an appetite. Make sure they're peeing and pooing properly. If they're pooing diarrhea, we need to get a sample of that and find out what's going on. We don't like to just throw medicines at them unless we know what's going on. So we'll do a fecal sample so we know what we are treating. But you look for lethargy. In other words, if they're not active, they don't want to play, just want to sleep all the time, this is something else we need to address. Watch for temperature changes. You can always call me or one of the other people who have more experience with the kittens. If you have a concern, we will glad to see the kitten and get it to a vet if we think that is necessary.
As far as new pet owners, it's the same situation. I know a lot of people don't understand with cats that cats don't present disease as well and sickness as well as other animals.
They hide.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
cats
do
hide it
hide.
very much. So that's why you have to look for the signs of what we call lethargy. They're just sort of don't want to play, don't want to do it. They're just not acting normal. That's one way. Another way, they just sort of sit sort of crouched with their head down. That like they're depressed. They don't feel well.
And they're not eating.
Yeah, but that's the main thing, not eating or having stool problems or just not acting right. They're just not acting like a normal active kitten.
Right. And another one I'm going to add to that is going to be frequent visits to the litter box because you want to make sure that they're not having a urinary problem
Mm-hmm.
because a urinary problem can actually be very problematic for a male cat very quickly.
Mm-hmm. That's why
Okay.
diet and wet food is important. To not feed them all the dry food all the time. Wet food's really good to help, especially with the male cats.
Right.
And wet food keeps them hydrated. So we highly encourage wet food a couple of times a day,
Yeah.
especially for kittens. Yeah.
Yeah. And then if the kittens are having pooping issues, then you want to make sure if it is kind of watery that they are monitored because that can dehydrate a kitten quickly,
Yeah, they
very
need
quickly.
fluids. They may
Yeah.
need fluids immediately, and we can help with that.
You do a lot of neonatal kittens, bottle babies. So
Not a lot, but a few.
do you have a need for people who can do that? Or would you
Yes,
be
we
willing
do.
to train people to
We
do
can-
that?
We can train people, and we do need a need for them. I don't know. We haven't gotten them yet this year. I know they're coming. Another rescue group has already taken in a group of bottle babies. And they do take a lot more time and a lot more effort.
And now for the feeding for the bottle babies, you think it's 2 to 3 hours? Do you think people should be getting up in the middle of the night to feed them, or do you think they can let them go in the middle of the
Depends
night?
on the age. The first week, yeah, you need to do them every 2 to 3 hours. After a week, I usually feed them at midnight, then get up around 5, feed them again. I give myself a few hours to sleep so I
Yeah,
can
me too.
play with them in the morning. Yes, but first week, yeah, they need to be fed every 2 to 3 hours. Sometimes you even have to wake them up, but yes, they'll grab that nipple and they'll start nursing.
Yeah. And then for people who don't know, you also have to stimulate them to go to the bathroom because they
Yeah.
can't go to the bathroom on their own yet.
Mommy usually does that, so that's a job you have to take over.
Right. Right.
But again, within 2 weeks, they're usually doing it on their own.
Yeah. And you put the litter box in there and they know exactly
go
what
right
to do.
to it.
You don't have
Yeah.
to train them.
I start with just a pad.
Yeah.
Put a pad next to their bed, and they will leave their bed and go on the pad.
That's what I do.
And then you take a very, very thin litter box, just about an inch high at the most, and put a little bit of litter on that. Put a pad in there first, then a little bit of litter, then a little more litter, then a little
Yep.
more
That's
litter.
exactly what I do.
And
I'll
they-
use a
They
little
will
cat
use
food box.
They do
yeah.
not want to mess up their bed.
Mhm.
Just do not.
People are always under the assumption you have to train them to use a litter box.
So
I've never had to train a single one to use a litter box.
it's like the old thing about the baseball thing: build it and they will come. Provide it, they will use it.
So now back to the foster program. What are your biggest needs for the program?
We need volunteers at PetSmart. We need volunteers to help clean the cages. There are several spots available in the morning or the afternoon or evening. And then on the weekends to help clean cages and assist with adoptions, whether it's showing people the kittens that they might be interested in, keeping some control and order in the adoption room. Sometimes too many people want to go in that room and it's kind of chaos. So we monitor who's going in and show them the kittens to see which one they select.
Now, since you are located in PetSmart, you do have to be careful that the kittens do not get loose in the store. Is
Like I
that
said, we monitor the room, keep the door closed when people are opening cages. Yep.
so? Is that something that has happened before?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and what happens in that case?
Well, sometimes we all get down on our bellies and try to see where they're going. We have to tell the manager of the store they close the store or lock the door, close the door so it doesn't open automatically because we don't want a kitten flying out into the parking lot. That would be total disaster. But most of the employees and us, we all get down, start looking for them because they go up underneath the counters and the display areas. You never know where they're going to be.
Mm-hmm.
It has happened that we couldn't find them.
And
So we have had to go in and put traps.
2 days
Yeah.
in the store.
Yeah, we've had to go in and put and bait traps and put them around the store. But fortunately, most of them, the few times that they've gotten out, they will go back in the adoption room. So if we leave the
Okay.
adoption room open, that's their home as far as they know. And they'll go in there and get in the cabinet and hide.
Yep. Yep. That's kind of like the thing too with indoor cats when they get outside. If you open your door, most of the time they go right back in.
Yeah,
Right,
they
'cause
want to
that's
get
what they
back in.
know.
Yep. Yep.
So if you wanted to adopt a cat, you go over to PetSmart and you're in the room, you're petting everybody, seeing who picks you. And you need to bring a kennel because we don't let them go out of the door without a kennel. And fill out the application and you too can have a new kitten.
Now, do you ever get special needs?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on what kind of special needs you get?
We've had some that had to have a limb removed. Those are not so bad. They usually manage to get along with 3 legs.
Or
Very
an eye-
well.
an
Very
eye
well.
removed.
We often have some that have only one eye that they can see out of. We have had totally blind. I'm trying to think of some of the other things that we have. But that's one of the main things. Sometimes they have a semi-chronic illness.
Right.
One of the most common is herpes. It's
Mhm.
very common in cats. And when they're stressed, their eyes water and their nose runs. And they can be treated with a mild antihistamine type thing. And lysine does not cure it. Lysine helps the virus from replicating. But usually cats manage with it. They'll come down with it for a few days and it'll go away. Some don't. You never know. Can't promise anything.
How many hours a week do both of y'all do with volunteering?
Oh boy. Well, I do 4 days at PetSmart, which is a minimum of 4 hours each of those 4 days.
Mhm.
It's usually more than that. Then on 2
And
days
Joan's
a
phone
week,
does not stop.
2 days a week, I'm to and from veterinarians all day, taking them in for spay and neuter or various other procedures. And the telephone, I average 50 calls a day.
I order the meds. I handle the follow-ups. I handle phone calls when people don't get Joan on the phone. They'll call me because I generally answer. I try to handle what I can, but I don't know as much medical as Joan. I can do basic, but once it gets past that, I have to call her. And I handle all of the adoption contracts once they're done. So part-time volunteer, 20 to 30 hours for me. You're
At
more than
least,
that.
yeah,
You're
between
probably 50
ordering
or
and
60 or
helping
70.
the
But I'm,
schedule and picking cats.
yes, I'm probably 20 to 30 a week.
Fortunately, neither one of us has an 8 to 5 job.
Okay, now I'm going to ask, how old are you, Joan, if you don't mind answering?
83 in July.
Okay. So Joan is pretty remarkable because she does a lot.
She's amazing.
Okay, she does a lot. Now, you just got an award too, right? What did you just get?
Well, it was Fortunate People's Choice for a senior citizen doing active volunteer work.
Okay, and then have you gotten something from the city as well?
Yes, I got a nice award for them too. Very, 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 very nice.
She's very humble, huh?
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, it's not many people can do something they like
Uh-huh.
and enjoy doing and get reward from it.
Uh-huh. Right. Yeah, it keeps you busy too.
Yeah.
So
Keeps me very busy.
keeps you busy, keeps you young.
Yeah, so she doesn't let me sit back in the rocking chair.
And you don't look 83 and you don't act 83.
Well, fortunately, I don't feel it too much yet.
So now it's kind of an off time because we are in February right now. So how many kittens do you have in the program currently?
12 of them are being spayed and neutered tomorrow, but 4 of those are mom cats, which is good.
So what's our total number right now?
Total number that are going to be ready for adoption about 34.
What's in the program? We have some adults. We have some
Well,
at
that's
your
what I'm
house.
trying. Yes, I said, my house, we have some that we don't know what's going to happen with those yet. We're still trying to find the right situation for them. These are cats that if we put them over at PetSmart, they are scared to death. They will not come forward and interact with anybody. Bring them home and they won't get out of my lap. And so hopefully maybe I can have someone come by home and see how great those cats really are, or that they'll give them a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Give them a couple of weeks and see if they will adjust, but they do not do well at the store. So at my house, there's probably about 8 of them that will not do well at PetSmart.
And are these adults?
Some are adults, some are still kittens.
Mm-hmm.
The kitten, I still have hope for. But if they see me, we make eye contact, they are under the sofa, under the bed, whatever. If I catch them and I hold them and pet them, they start purring and cuddling and they warm up. But they're not coming to me willingly yet.
But in the summertime, I'll say our numbers are about 125 to 140
Correct.
cats in the system.
This is our low time. This is January, February. Their kittens are just starting to come.
Now, as far as people finding kittens and calling you for help, are there situations where they should just leave the kittens alone?
Lots of situations. If they will just provide the mother a safe place to be, let her nurse those kittens until those kittens are ready to. If you want to have them spayed, neutered, and returned to your property, that's an option. But if you want them up for adoption, they have to be socialized. So you need to pet them, loving them, talking to them, bring them in if at all possible. You have a screened porch. You have an extra room. Bring them in and socialize. We don't want them to be outdoor cats because that's when they get in trouble. That's when neighbors complain and they get run over and it's just a bad situation all over. They need to be indoors. If it's your own personal cat, please get her spayed before she has babies.
So if somebody does have a mom cat, they find the kittens, they're letting the mom cat take care of the kittens for a while. At what age should they try to bring those kittens inside?
Between 4 and 5 weeks
Okay.
because they're ready to start eating.
Now, what about if it's past 8 weeks? If they're with a feral mom cat that isn't friendly and they haven't been handled, is there like a cutoff for taming kittens?
Most of the time, yes, around 8 weeks. Ideally, we get them before 6. 7, 8 weeks, it depends on how noisy where they are and how comfortable they are with people coming around them. If they will accept people coming to them and petting them, that's a different story. But if you've totally ignored them, they're not going to come around.
Now, do you do any kind of trapping or offer any kind of trapping services?
We have trappers that help trap. We don't, I myself do not trap anymore. I don't have time. But we have plenty of trappers that do trap, and we take the kittens when they trap them. And hopefully, sometimes if people have these kittens in their yards, if they will foster them, that's the ideal system. We just do not have enough fosters to take care of all of these litters that are out there.
And then when we take all these kittens in, we have to be able to find a home for them. And if we take too many, we can't find the homes.
Right.
There's more babies than homes.
Right. Right. So are you saying that if people see newborn kittens outside, just to watch them until the mom returns, that's the
and
best for
let
them?
mom take care of
Provide
them.
food for mom, provide her a safe place to be. If you can't bring them into a porch or a shed or a garage, provide some type of shelter for her.
And then, of course, spay mom. And then, like you said earlier, you got to do it before the kittens are 4 months old because they
can
can
get
start
pregnant again.
reproducing. Yep.
Yeah.
And the mom can get pregnant again.
Then you have
Yep.
20 or 30 kittens in your yard.
Jefferson Parish has a really good Fix a Feline program.
Yeah. We are fortunate that they do have such a good program here.
It's very
free
low cost. If
fix
you
a
want
feral.
to keep the cat and want to keep it outdoors, it is free. The animal is spayed or neutered. They are ear tipped to show that they've been spayed or neutered. And they get a rabies shot and a vaccine. All of that for free. If you do not want to ear tip it, and you're going to keep the cat inside and make it a nice pet, it's only $15. Get your cat spayed or neutered. That's really very, very generous of our parish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is because there's other places that don't have that opportunity for that.
There are about 15, I think, spay neuter places, veterinarians that will do it in the program. It varies, but there are several on the West Bank, there's several on the East Bank, and there's even one in New Orleans Parish on Washington Street, and I think there's another one that they do there now. But if you call the Jefferson SPCA, they can give you a list of the clinics that are participating.
And you can Google.
It can be
Fix a
Googled
Feline,
too, it's
Jefferson
online,
Parish.
yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
as to different veterinarians that are participating.
So there is SpayMart and there's SpayMart Kitten Foster. Can you tell me what the difference is between those two groups?
SpayMart was the original organization. And about 17 years ago, they needed someone to run the kitten foster program at PetSmart. And so we started doing that. We handle more babies than they do. And we're on site at PetSmart.
They have a thrift shop in Metairie off of Veterans near Lafreniere Park, and they have a few adults there and sometimes have a few kittens there. So they do have some kitties there for adoption.
They're like our parent company.
Yeah, we're just we're sort of a shoot off, and we pretty much stay at PetSmart.
If anybody wants to get in touch with you, how would they get in touch with you?
Well, our numbers are posted, and we have cards over at PetSmart. I do try to answer the phone as much as I can, but generally speaking,
Right.
you know, if they were interested in adopting, you just go over and they fill out an application, to which one they are interested in, and then they can give us a call. And we're glad to try to meet them off hours sometimes if we can do that. Both Lauree and I are available to go over occasionally during the day. But most people do want to adopt in the evenings, and that's why we have 2 evenings a week. And then we have the Saturday and Sunday. Those usually accommodate most people. There are exceptions.
And we have the SpayMart Kitten Foster Facebook page.
And I can include a link for that too in the description. Well, you did say one of your biggest needs is volunteers.
Yes.
Okay. And that would be at PetSmart, either to assist with adoption events or cleaning the cages.
Mm-hmm. Different times. We have a few people that already have their set times, but sometimes they're out of town. And I still have some spaces that when I don't have a volunteer, I need to fill in, which wrecks up my hours more than they should be.
We also need a new coordinator of some sort, someone to do medical, and maybe another person to help schedule appointments, another one to help schedule getting them into PetSmart. Right now, I'm fulfilling about 4 or 5 functions, and I plan to retire, and we do need somebody to do those different chores.
What about if kids in school want to help out? Can they get service hours?
Yes.
And,
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Then of course, most of them can't come during the week. They've got homework,
Uh-huh.
except for maybe a Friday evening. But the Saturdays and Sundays, we do have some of the young people do come in.
What are the age requirements for that?
16 or above.
If they're a little younger, the parent needs to be with them. We've had a couple of younger kids.
We've had a couple at
14,
age 14 that
with the
acted like they were
parents.
18, but we had their parents come because we don't want to be responsible for a young person. It's best that they have parental supervision when they're out in public like that.
And we've done service hours for kids, and we've done service hours for adults.
Okay.
There are some people who have to do service hours for minor infractions.
The adult ones.
Yeah, and those are our adults, yes. So we have had a few of them that were with minor offenses. We don't know what they are. We don't ask. But generally speaking, if they do some public service, they can help clean cages, help us with that type of stuff. And some of them have been great.
So they just contact me. They can reach out to me. You can put the phone number. I am the volunteer coordinator by default. And we could use a volunteer
Yeah, we
coordinator.
need a volunteer coordinator, somebody to help coordinate all the different jobs that we have done, the different days that they need to be at PetSmart. Our goal was that no one has to go every single week. In other words, we'd like to have, so I'd say, alternate. Somebody goes every other Monday, another one goes every other Tuesday. But lately, we haven't had enough volunteers, so they're having to do more days than what they'd really like to. That makes it hard for everybody.
Okay, so now on the weekdays, do you do them in the morning, in the evenings?
Both.
Okay, and then, so if somebody was interested in volunteering to do that, how much time would they need to put in? What would the hours be for that?
So when there's no one at PetSmart, just the kitties, and you're going in on your own for the morning ones, there's 10 cages. It could take you anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and a half, depending upon how much time you're loving on the kittens and playing with them. And when we do adoptions, someone will go in a little bit earlier, and then you have the whole adoption time, which would be the Wednesday night with the Friday night. So that would be from, say, 3 o'clock until 6 o'clock on a Wednesday night or a Friday night. But in the mornings, I can do it in 45 minutes, and everything's clean when I leave. Fresh water, clean the litter boxes and fresh food, and clean the cages out.
But like she said, some people like to stay there an hour and play with the kittens. That's fine. Kittens like it too. So it's up to them. If they want to do, just go in and clean and get it done, or if they want to spend some time with the cats.
And what about for fostering? Do you have a need for fosters still, or a need for people to maybe socialize kittens?
Yes, we do. Almost always. Because the thing is, right now, if you found a litter of kittens, I would highly encourage you to foster them, because trying to find enough fosters is very difficult.
Just so people know, and to be realistic about it. So let's say you get a call and somebody found kittens and they need a foster. I know a lot of people think that's going to happen immediately.
It does not happen in 5 minutes.
Right?
I have to get on the phone and try calling a list of people that have offered to volunteer and make sure that they're available. And some are available for bottle babies, some are not. Some of them work, so they can't be home 8 hours. Some people who work are able to take them to work with them. And some people work at home. So there are some that can do bottle feeding of very little kittens. A lot of us, unfortunately, do work. So therefore, they need to be able to feed them in the morning before they go to work, and then come home in the evening and work with them and watch and make sure that they're healthy. But that's what they need, to be played with and loved on. So it's sort of fun.
Yeah, and it doesn't take a lot of room too.
Yeah.
I'm sure, like, if somebody just has a spare room, do you have like a cage you could?
Yeah, we have cages
provide?
we can lend out. We provide the food and the litter boxes and toys. We provide most of it.
And then if they get sick, or if they're noticing they're sick, then you'll get them into the vet to go
Yes,
get
and
checked out too.
Should they need to go to the vet, we will.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's something Joan can just handle.
Sometimes we panic.
Uh-huh.
So I take them and observe them. If I feel they need to go into the vet, then I get them in.
Right.
But I guess the most important part here is Joan is retiring, and we do not know the future of our organization if we can't come up with some volunteers.
Well, let's hope we get some volunteers for you.
We
Yep.
hope.
Like I said, some vet techs or retired vet techs would be great, to handle that type of thing. And then people who just are very good at scheduling and organizing. You need somebody like that.
Right. And
Someone
I
to schedule these spay-neuter appointments and to get them to the appointments and get them back to the fosters. until they're ready to come into the store.
Right. And would you be willing to say split these duties up into a
Definitely.
couple volunteers?
I'd like to see 4 or 5 people.
Joan is 3 or 4 people. So we need that many people to be Joan.
Yes, I say, yeah, we need to divide up my responsibility.
When Joan is out of town and I'm my job and her job, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Okay, so we're coming up on the end. Is there anything else that you would like to add?
We need help. Please spay and neuter your pets.
Yes, that's the fine thing. I mean, spay the mom. A mom cat here in Louisiana, if she goes into heat 2 or 3 times a year and has 5 or 6 kittens each time, that's a lot of
The
kittens.
number in 7 years is crazy, like 400,000 offspring. You know that old commercial of you tell 2 people and they tell 2 people, well, you have 5 babies and those 5 babies have 5 babies and you go through a few years.
And then
It's-
those 25 babies have another 5. Yeah, it
It's
keeps going.
crazy.
It's exponential.
Uh-huh.
It's unbelievable. So spay neuter is the definite answer.
and the boys too.
Yeah, well, a male cat can usually travels a radius of 2 miles, and he can visit several ladies in every spot. So he can he can provide a lot of kittens out there.
They get busy.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, they're more responsible for the kittens than what the mom cats are.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
any cat you come in contact with, don't feed it without fixing it.
I agree. Well, thank you both for
Thank
joining
you.
me. So
Thank you.
hopefully we will get you some volunteers.
That would be wonderful.
Yes, it would.
All right.
It's very rewarding, believe
Uh-huh.
me.
I totally agree with you on that. All
Thank
right.
you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
And that's all the time we have for today's episode. If you are in animal rescue or if you know someone that has a story that should be told, please contact us. We would love to have you or them on the show. Thanks for listening, and please join us next week as we continue to explore the world of animal rescue.